Fitness, nutrition, mindset, and accountability community. This community is for busy moms and busy women who are ready to take back their life, feel more confident, be stronger, have more energy, all while learning simple habits and changes that are going to allow you to reach your goals without having to give up the things you love. And as holiday approaches, I keep hearing this over and over again of how to navigate the holidays. And when everything gets busy, we want to learn how to navigate and also how to plan and prep. So today's training is going to be 10 of my meal prep and planning secrets, which I am excited for. There was a few of you who actually reached out when you said you were going to be able to make it to this training. And I asked what your biggest struggle was. So I'm going to make sure that whatever you said that struggle was, I've got a solution for you, or I've got a little tip to help you. So before we get too far into it, I want to remind you that there's three ways to get the most out of these calls. Number one is to click that little Zoom link above my head in Facebook and jump right into the Zoom room. I go live via Zoom into the Facebook for the sole purpose of giving you the opportunity to jump on and have one-on-one connection, have group connection, and I want to be able to create that safe space. So that is the best way to get the most out of these calls. The second best way to get the most out of these calls is by watching live on Facebook, which if you are watching live on Facebook right now, drop hashtag live in the comments below. Let me know you are watching. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and what your biggest challenge or struggle or kind of sticking point with meal prep and planning that comes up for you, because these replays live on. And if you drop it, if I miss it here in the live, I will make sure to go back and I'll get you a tip for it. I'll get you a solution. We will find the answer to that. And the third best way is to just watch the replay. I do recommend, a lot of these are me just talking and I don't always do a PowerPoint. Today there's no PowerPoint. So put in your earbuds, put on your shoes, and go walk or go move your body as you are listening. Because as we are able to move and also consume, I find that I consume better when I'm actually out moving my body. So with that being the case, drop hashtag replay in the comments below if you are watching the replay later on. Same thing, answer who you are, where you're from, and what your biggest challenge or struggle is. And Elena, I see you tuning in while you're making lunch for Hugh. Happy to have you here. I know I haven't seen you in a while. And I know you were one of the ones who already dropped your struggle or challenge in the comments yesterday when I reached out to you. So you are all set. If you have something else you want to add, please add it in the comments as we follow along. So why today's challenge, or why today's training per se? And it's because meal prep and planning is a challenge for a lot of us. I am one of those weird people who, I love grocery shopping. I love meal prep and planning. I love going to the dentist. Those things that most people don't enjoy, I kind of enjoy. So, with that being the case, I wanted to make sure that we talked about something that a lot of people have struggles or challenges with. And failure to plan means that you are planning to fail. And meal prep and planning can look different to each and every person. I do run a meal prep and planning boot camp. And during that boot camp, I give you the framework for you to follow, but you get to make the specific changes for you and your family. And today, I really want you to start thinking of, what does meal prep and planning look like to you? Reason being is, meal prep and planning for me with Mike and no kids looks completely different than it does for you, Elena, with two kids and a husband and all the things. And Kelsey, I see you there from California. Biggest struggle is picky eaters and finding the time. Awesome. So, like, knowing that families are different and your routines are different. Do you work from home? Do you work out of the house? Do you have a designated day? This system looks different for everybody. So the tips that I'm going to be sharing, they may not fit exactly, but there's going to be a piece that you can tweak a little bit to help you see a difference. And the biggest piece of advice that I'm going to give you today is, as I share all of these tips, do not go and implement all 10 of these tips at once. Because if we take it all on, the likelihood of us being able to complete it in a routine system is slim to none. So really think about one, maybe two that stand out to you that you really want to leave today implementing and moving forward with. So Elena, Kelsey, if you have other questions throughout, just please drop them. I've got you on my left-hand side here. As we also move into the holidays, I talked about the challenges. Our Commit to Your Health program is officially, doors are open. I am super excited. It is a women's only group coaching program to help you keep you accountable, help you feel less stressed, less overwhelmed. Make sure you're drinking your water, eating your protein, eating your vegetables, getting your movement, and giving time to you every single day from Thanksgiving to New Year's. So if you have any interest in seeing what all those details are when we get started, I am doing early bird doors open from now till the end of October, so October 31st, where I have reduced price, which is I want to get you guys in. I want to get you started now. So if you have any interest in our Commit to Your Health program, just drop me in the comments below and I'll send you the link so we can kind of talk details and see if it's a good fit for you. It's specifically meant for busy women and busy moms who struggle with the overwhelm of finding the time for themselves, to finding the balance, who just say, "Yeah, I'll just wait till the new year when things slow down." Things are not going to slow down. They never slow down. We all should know this by now. So if you're interested at all, drop me in the comments below and I will get you those details. So meal prep and planning. There is two definitions I'm going to share with you. So meal prep, according to Google, is meal preparation involves prepping meals ahead of time or for a short or long period. Pretty simple. Meal planning, according to Google, is an action of deciding meals in advance using your schedule preferences, foods on hand, seasonal produce, sale items, etc. Meal prep and planning, according to me, is setting yourself up for success by creating a plan, prepping for the outcome you want, and following through with the plan. And I kind of combined both of those, and it sounds kind of vague, but the reason is the biggest portions of meal prep and planning is creating a plan, setting yourself up for success, and following through with it. And for you, that may mean just your snacks. That may mean that it's just 2 days at a time. It may not mean you're planning for the whole week because you don't have the time up front to do that. But so, with that being the case, I know time is a huge constrictor. And one of the things that I like to touch on is I get a lot of, well, what if I don't have the time? Or what if I don't have a day to do it? When you meal prep and plan on a certain day, and you can break it into sections, but by meal prep and planning, you save yourself time and you save yourself the mental fatigue later in the week because we all run into, "Oh, what are we having for dinner?" Or, "Oh, I didn't pull the frozen meat out of the freezer. Now what are we going to have?" Like all those decisions that we have to make day of that we are exhausted by the time dinner happens, by the time lunch happens, by the time next morning rolls around, whatever that looks like, if we can plan and prep in a way that works for us, it's going to save us physical time as well as mental energy. So, tip number one is really the biggest thing is when you create your meal prep and plan, often what I see we all do is you write down, here's my breakfast for the week, here's my lunch, here's my dinner. But we don't actually pull out our calendar and look at what days are we at the house? What days are we in the office? What do I have access to when I'm on the road? Maybe we're eating out at night because there's soccer practice or there's a late meeting. So when you pick what days and you create your meal plan for the week, you need to pull out your physical calendar and look and make that around. So I know Elena's done our meal prep and planning boot camp, and on Wednesdays, it's let's say Wednesdays are swim lessons for her, and they know that that's a pickup food on the way home, but she's planning for that. And that decision has already been made prior in advance. So when you are planning your days of what you are going to eat for each meal, make sure that you first write in the meals that you're not going to be cooking at home, and then fill the rest in after. So often we forget the disconnect between our actual calendar and our food calendar. They should overlap very nicely. And if you have any questions on any of these, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. So if you have a question, if you could do one and then your question so I know which one you're referring to, because there is a little bit of delay on Facebook, that would be awesome. And then as you're watching the replay, I can make sure that I'm talking to the right comment. So tip number 2, shop your pantry and your fridge first. One of the biggest things that I run into a lot of people saying and hearing, and myself included, is inflation is high. We're spending more on groceries. We're just spending more on things. And often we just continue to buy things when we have things in our pantry. They don't always look as sexy or as yummy or as like, we have to get more creative. But it's super important that we shop our pantry and our fridge first. So once you have your meals created for the week and you start creating your grocery list, go through your pantry and say, okay, well, what don't I need from the store? Or you can reverse that and create your meals based on what you already have in your pantry and your fridge. So maybe you don't have to go to the store. Elena's in our inner circle, and one of her end of the month questions, because I always ask an end of the month question of what do you want to learn about the next month, was how to get more protein in without having to use meat and trying to use some of the things around the house. So it's really just highlighting some of the things in our house that we don't think are going to fuel us, but we just have to look at them in a different way. So making sure that before you create your grocery list, before you even really create your meals for the week, look at your pantry, look at your fridge, see what's in there, see what you can create without having to go spend more money. Tip number 3, stop trying new recipes all of the time. One of the things that really gets people in the habit of creating a solid meal plan that they will follow is having recipes that have very little ingredients, that are little cleanup, and that also don't take a lot of bandwidth for you to cook and make because we are busy, we are tired at the end of our day. If I have to sit here and follow a 14-step recipe, the likelihood of me doing it is slim to none. But that doesn't mean I don't ever try recipes, but I give myself 1 to 2 new recipes per month. And that may be a new breakfast recipe, a new lunch, or a new dinner. But a lot of times we get caught in wanting to try something new every week and we don't actually get in a rhythm. So it's nice to kind of have a rhythm of on Mondays, we're going to have Mexican. On Tuesdays, we are going to have you don't want Mexican on Monday and tacos on Tuesday. But you get what I'm saying? It's good to have a rhythm of kind of what you eat. Wednesday's always a crock pot meal because it's a late night home. Friday's always pizza Friday because that's just something our family enjoys. Like coming up with this rhythm and this routine so that each week when you plan, you're not having to rethink the wheel. You're not having to recreate it. Like, no, it's there. We just have to swap some ideas in. And it may mean we're trying a new taco recipe this week. Things like that. So stop trying new recipes with a ton of ingredients, especially if you're only buying a little thing for this big recipe. I hate doing that. I hate buying spices where I only use this much. And then I'm like, well, I did not enjoy that recipe. Now I have all this spice for no reason. So tip number 4, when you are in the grocery store, remembering, and you've probably heard this from me before, shop the perimeter first. So when you go into the store, I always envision Meijer because Meijer is where I started grocery shopping when I was younger. Now I grocery shop at Aldi and I love it. Same concept applies though. I shop the perimeter, so I shop all my meats, my fresh fruits, my vegetables, my dairy, things like that. I shop the perimeter first. And then after that, only go down the aisles that you have things on your list for. So for instance, if you go down the cereal and chip aisle, if you don't have anything on your list that's in that aisle, don't go down it because we tend to see something new, the marketing gets us, and we end up grabbing things we are unneeded. By shopping the perimeter and then only going through the aisles with the things that are actually on our list, what that does is it keeps us on our list, keeps us spending less, and it also makes sure we don't walk out of there with unnecessary foods that we don't need or want and spending more money than we need or want to. The other thing that I'm going to kind of tack onto this on number 4 is have a list when you go to the grocery store. Don't just go in there willy-nilly because what that then leads to is us walking down every single aisle. I know a lot of you do online shopping, so having your list before you go scrolling through the app is the same concept. If you're just scrolling through the app and clicking the things you want without a list prior, you're most likely going to put more things in your cart because things are going to stand out to you. You're going to be like, oh, well, that's on sale. I'll do that. Like, not a big deal, but if you don't start with a list, you are going to put things in that you don't need or that you weren't planning on getting. Any questions so far on 1 through 4 tips? And I kind of moved into number 5 with stick to your list. So 1 through 5, any questions? Elena and Kelsey, if you guys are still there, let me know that you are there and you can hear me. And if you have questions, drop them in there. I'm going to refresh over here. So next tip number 6, make your life easy and clean and cut before putting away. So this is not always ideal, but one of the things that I really like to do is for my fruit, especially, is I find that if I grab a bag of grapes and I bring them home and they go right in the fridge, I will not eat them. Because in the moment when I want grapes, I have to pull the grapes off the vine, I have to rinse them, dry them, and then eat them. That is way too many steps in the moment on a Wednesday when I'm in between clients and I need to just grab. So one of the things that's really helped me not waste food in the house and to plan and prep is if there's foods that you know are in the moment, take a little bit more time for you to grab and clean and do stuff. Right when that food gets home, whether you do it order pickup, or you actually go to the grocery store and you bring it home yourself, whichever option it is. If you've got grapes, if you've got celery, if you've got things that need to be portioned out, rinse, wash, or wash, rinse, package out so that they are easy to go. Same thing goes if you've got a big bag of trail mix. If you go to Costco, you get that big bag of trail mix. Portion it out into little containers just for the week so you have easy grab and go. That also is really nice for when you're running out the door, kid's not happy, you know you're late to pick up the other one, all the things are happening. If you have grab and go snacks that you have made or that you've even just bought grab and go wise, it just makes life easier rather than, oh, I just have to, we got to run in somewhere now, or we got to make sure we have this. Like, it's just really easy when we prep these things in advance, and it keeps you from not wasting your food. I'm notorious for buying fruits and vegetables, and if I don't wash them, they just sit there and I'm like, oh darn it, I didn't do it, and then I end up freezing it before they go bad. Then they go in smoothies, so they don't get fully wasted, but at the same time they kind of do, because I bought them to eat them fresh. If I wanted frozen vegetables and frozen fruit, I would have just bought them frozen. So same thing goes for your vegetables. If you are going to be cutting something up, and I'm going to move on to a different tip here, is number 11, because I do have a bonus in here. So I'm going to skip from 6 to 11 because it kind of goes well together. Is if you are cutting up your stuff and you're getting things ready. So on Monday, let's say you're cutting up your chicken and you're cutting up your veggies, and that's just for Monday, but you know you're going to have chicken and veggies again on Thursday. Just cut everything up, throw in a Ziploc baggie, throw it in the fridge. It will be good till then. And then you don't have to go through getting the cutting board out, recutting. You can do all your cutting prep prior in the week when you're already doing it for one meal. So I'm going to pop back up to tip number 7. Hi, Sheila. I see you tuning in from Kansas. Happy to have you here. If you've got any questions, let us know in the comments. I'm watching both those as we go. So tip number 7. This may sound super simple, but Tupperware. I like the glass containers. I think they're by Rubbermaid. I love them. They're great for reheating. The ones that I have, I can actually put in the oven, or I can pop them in the air fryer if I'm doing a warm dish of any sorts. So have a nice set of Tupperware that you enjoy taking. That's not something that's going to break down. Like, actually invest in nice Tupperware and nice dishware that you enjoy eating out of, that you know is not going to taint the way you look at your leftovers. Because a lot of times we're not leftover people. I always am, but I know a lot of people who aren't. And it's the way it looks. Like, leftovers don't always look great. But if we put it in a container that actually looks nice rather than that old Cool Whip container that we probably all have laying around somewhere, we're going to be more intrigued to eat it. So a lot of it's also visual if you're trying to eat leftovers. Tip number 8, if you are having the same protein and vegetable later in the week, like I mentioned, make sure you cut it up all at the same time. An expansion on that is that if you are cutting up your stuff, this is something that I learned, and I actually did it in our real-time cooking class that Sheila joined in on a while ago. And in here, really thinking through, if I'm using my cutting board, I want to cut my veggies first, and then I want to cut my meat. Reason being, if I cut my meat on my cutting board with my knife first, I have to get a whole new clean cutting board and knife before I move on to the veggies, or I have to wash them all, and it's more steps. So as you are doing your prep, cut the things that are not going to contaminate to the things that are going to contaminate, because it just leaves for less dishes. Tip number 9, simple equals success. Stop overcomplicating it. Keep meal prep and planning super simple. Look at your calendar, decide what meals you are eating at home, decide what meals you are eating, and then stick to it. Super, super simple. We get so caught up in, well, what about this? What about this? Super simple meals are also the way to go. I've got a full recipe book that inside the Commit to Your Health program, excuse me for just 1 minute. That inside the Commit to Your Health program, at the end, I've never done this, I've got a full master cooking book, cookbook that I believe it's like 80 some pages, that this year you guys will be getting access to the master book. Whereas in the past, in the Commit to Your Health program, you get a little ebook with a few recipes and things. This one, you're going to get all of my recipes, and we've got one pan meals, we've got Instapot meals, we've got just a little bit of everything that are simple and quick. Because if you know me, I don't enjoy dishes when it comes to meal prepping and planning, or even cooking in general. And I don't like using a lot of spices, but I do enjoy cooking. So finding ways to enjoy cooking that don't require a bunch of things. So simple is going to equal success. And then tip number 10, because I already gave you tip number 11, which is our bonus, is create foods that you like list. So inside our meal prep and planning boot camp, we do an exercise of a sheet of paper, foods I like, and we put protein at the top. Foods I like carbs, foods I like fats, foods I like vegetables, and foods I like fruit. And under that, you just write all of the foods you enjoy. Because one of the things that I find that happens and why we get stuck and why we tend to stray away from our plan is because we are bored. We're missing variety and we are bored of what we are eating. And we get caught eating the apples, the carrots, and the chicken. Those are boring if we eat them every single week. So having variety and creating this foods I like list for each of these categories is really awesome because you get to just dump. And if you've got a family, feel free to do a color coding system. So write all your husbands. So you can do in one color everything everyone in the family likes. Blue can be hues. Like you can do each color per person so that when you're just creating your stuff, you know what you enjoy, but you also may know like, oh, they don't enjoy that, but that doesn't mean I can't have it. So by having these lists at your disposal and putting them in a binder where you have the rest of your meal prep and planning stuff, that is going to it's going to allow you to have variety, keep you excited about cooking, and also make sure that you have recipes all in one spot. So make sure that you create a foods I like list for your protein, carbs, fats, fruits, and vegetables. It's going to help give you variety. So far, Sheila, Elena, Kelsey, anybody else who is on right now, what questions do you have about those 11 tips before I get into really Elena and Carla? I asked you guys yesterday when you said you were going to try to make it to today's call. I asked you what your biggest struggle was. So I want to touch on both of those as kind of our last little thing, but I just want to check in and see if anybody's got any questions. And as a reminder, the Commit to Your Health program doors are open. I'm super excited. It's a women's only group coaching program for the holidays. If you're interested in hearing the details, drop me in the comments below. I will get you the link. We'll talk about it. We'll see if it's a great fit for you. Doors are open and we're doing an early bird special from now until October 31st. Sheila, struggle is being prepared. Yes, being prepared. And before I get to Elena and Kayla's and Carla's here, the biggest thing is start with step one. So Sheila, the biggest thing I can say is get your personal calendar out, create a blank calendar, and decide what you are having for each meal and make sure it works for the calendar. So for instance, when you're in the barn, you need to make sure you have a grab and go lunch. You can't have this sit down steak dinner lunch because it doesn't work for the time of the day. So first step is pulling out your calendar and creating a meal calendar that overlaps with it, that works really good. So as we move into that, if you've got any more questions, shoot them my way. So Elena, you had mentioned yesterday that lately you've been eating quick meal options. When I have mostly frozen meat at home, I've been meal planning for dinner, but struggling with lunch, especially now that I can't eat cold lunch meat sandwiches. Protein with snacks is also a struggle. Seems like all I crave this time around is salty snacks and apples. So one of your bigger things is probably going to be using leftovers as your lunch, because making a little bit bigger of a dinner portion. And if you're able to have leftovers in a way that if you're at home, you can just reheat, or having leftovers that you don't mind eating a little chilled, things like that. Leftovers are probably going to be your biggest and best option. So just planning a little bit bigger of dinner, it's probably going to work better for Jimmy as well. Instead of having to pack a separate lunch, double up on dinner, have leftovers for lunch. The other thing that you can do is crock-pot and Instapot meals for dinner is a really nice way for those frozen meats. I've got an Instapot, and our chicken taco recipe, I throw 2 frozen chicken breasts in the Instapot, some salsa, taco seasoning, some water, and I think that's all. 25 minutes later in the Instapot from frozen, it's ready to eat. So thinking through for these frozen meats, can you make it into a crock pot? Can you make it into an Instapot? Is it something that you can actually create the morning or the night before? Keep it in the bowl, whatever that looks like, and then just push start in the morning. Other things that you can look at for lunch and snack options are going to be yogurt, cottage cheese, nuts, hummus, chickpeas, seafood, depending on what you can have seafood wise. I just got this Parmesan breaded, lightly breaded tilapia from Aldi. It was a 5 pack, and I think it was only $7.99. And in each of them is 11 grams of protein, and it's perfect when I pair it with a vegetable at lunch. It only took 10 minutes in the air fryer to cook, which is awesome. The last little thing that I'm going to address here is going to be your apples. Apples are great. We're in fall time. A way to make yourself feel a little bit more full. And I know I've told you this recipe, but take about a half a cup of plain Greek yogurt, throw a tablespoon to two in the bowl, mix it all up, and right there you've got a high protein peanut butter apple dip. You can also use your celery to dip it in. It's one of my favorite go-tos. I've also been taking my apples, and when they're kind of on the way out, or I've noticed I bought too many and I haven't ate them, I dice them up, I throw them in a bag, I freeze them, and then I will sprinkle that on top of plain Greek yogurt. So I get like that yummy, cold, crunchiness of the apple, but also it's like creamy because of the Greek yogurt. So also another option. I love that. I'll have to start cooking. Oh, hold on, let me go up. I'll have to start cooking meats even when frozen in Crock/Instapot. Um, Thanks. I have fish. The fish snack sounds good. Getting peanut butter today to make the dip, perfect. And honestly, I love crunchy peanut butter, so I also like that texture in there. Sherry says her big struggle is never ending. The family has to eat every day. I can plan and prep for one week, but the next week comes way too fast. Also, big family, so prep always just seems like a ton of work. Awesome, Cherry. I will get back to that in just a second. And Carla's was quick meal options, not a lot of ingredients or a lot of prep work involved. One of your biggest things is going to be looking for one sheet pan meals, quick Instapot or air fryer where you just cut it up and you throw it all in one pan, or you just throw it all in one space. It lets it cook and do all the things. Some other options, if you know you're short on time, you can always buy pre-cut veggies. I've seen at Meijer where you get the trays. They do pre-cut of a lot of their other veggies that you can just have if you know it's a really tight week. It is more expensive, but at least that's an option. Same thing, I do bag salads because they're quick and easy and convenient. So looking at options that are going to be quick and easy for you. I think the biggest will be for you to look at one pan meals, crock pot, Instapot, air fryer, where you just toss everything in. Inside our master cookbook that I'll be giving away, inside the Commit to Your Health program, I have multiple of those recipes that I absolutely love, that my nanny kids love. So for most kids, they're going to be kid approved. And I know a lot of you mentioned picky eaters. I know I've sent Elena a few different things, but thinking about how can you disguise the things they don't like. So really figuring out what is the thing they don't like. Why are they picky? Is it a taste? Is it a texture? Is it a color? What are the things that they're picky about? And that's probably asking them. Or maybe you just see a pattern. And then deciding, okay, if it's an Alfredo, but they don't like having a vegetable, can you blend up some cottage cheese and throw it in your Alfredo sauce if they don't like chicken so they get some protein? Is it switching out your noodles to a higher protein noodle so that they like a chickpea noodle or a red lentil noodle so they get some protein if they don't like chicken? Chicken's a big one that I see kids not liking because if it's not cooked a certain way, it can be rubbery, it can be textury, and I think that's it for all people. The other option is trying different ways. If you're someone who always just boils vegetables, try roasting them, try throwing them in the air fryer, try a different way, because sometimes it's not necessarily the food itself. Sometimes it's the way it's prepared. I know that was a big thing for me when my taste buds started to change. The other option is really just finding ways to make it look fun and exciting. And I know that probably sounds like a lot of work, but I know I've seen a bunch of things out there where I just blend all my sauces in a blender and it's orange, it's a bright, cool color, um, but they may not know what's in it and they'll still eat it. It's when they see those actual pieces. Like I can put onion in any recipe, but if my little nanny girl, if she sees the big chunks, she picks the big chunks out. But if it's really small and diced up, she doesn't notice. So thinking about the sizing of which you're adding things. And also Cherry said, I found that getting the kids involved in making the meal has really helped with the picky eaters. They are proud of what they make. I think that's a phenomenal idea, Cherry. You have a whole family, and I can't imagine how many picky eaters you've had throughout their lifetime. That get them involved, allow them. I just saw this hack that was you set their meal down in front of them, and then you have a little bowl so that they can pick out the things they don't like about the meal. And then it kind of gives you a better idea. So a few different ways. I think the more you can hide things in it is going to be your best, but then also really acknowledging, is it a food? Is it a specific food? Is it the texture? Is it the taste? Asking questions on why they don't like it. And they're little, so they're not going to always be able to tell you, but it also opens the conversation up for them to say, well, I'm just not sure. So it also opens that conversation, which I feel like is important because our taste buds do change. So Cherry had said, I wanted to go back to that question here. Um, so prepping for a big family seems like a ton of work. So Cherry, I'm going to kind of throw your piece of advice back with you. You have a big family. You have a lot of kids that are actually able to be in the kitchen, cook, cut, do the things in a safe manner. I would get them involved in this. Like when you bring all those groceries home for the week, I would say each week I designate one child. Okay, wait, you're gonna wash and cut all our fruit. You're gonna wash and cut all our vegetables, and then later in the week for dinners, you're gonna help with this and this. I would designate them because it helps get them involved. It also gives them really great cooking experience for fun things. I remember growing up, I didn't do a lot of cooking, but when my friends would come over, we would do like our own restaurant and we would make all these funky things and I loved it and it was fun. So getting them involved also sets them up for the skills later in life. And yes, it may be messy. Yes, they may create a bigger mess than if you just do it yourself, but it's also giving them the opportunity to practice and try. And there's not a wrong way to wash a vegetable or cut it or do any of that thing. So it's a really great safe space for them to just try it out and have some free range with it. So any other questions? As you guys are here, I'd love to know what your biggest insights and takeaways are for today. And as you're dropping your biggest insights and takeaways in the comments below, I want to remind you that the Commit to Your Health program doors are open and we're doing early bird pricing from now till October 31st. So drop me in the comments below. I will get you the link with all of the details and you can sign up directly. And if you've got any specific questions that you're like, is this a good fit for me? How would this work with my time? All of those things, please send it my way. I'm happy to jump on a call and talk with you. Some of you, I have a lot of times, a lot of you women repeat from year to year because you know it's a great time to have refocus and have the one-on-one accountability from me and other women. So if you're looking to learn about the Commit to Your Health program, women only, please let me know. Drop me in the comments below. Sheila said her biggest takeaway is preparedness. Yes, start with just one thing. Start with just one thing from today's list or one thing that I've shared and start there and grow on. So on that note, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day and I will see you all next time.